welcome back to the Tent of Abraham. I'm Tamir Kreisman from Israel. This is Parashat Truma, Contribution, Exodus 25:1 to 27:19. This one's called If You Built It. So, you're still here, after last week no less. Good for you. Good for me too. I feel I owe you an explanation. This doesn't happen often, but since you have put up with me for so long, there's some things I need you to know. Make no mistake, this is not an apology. I stand by everything I said. But this is for you. As I stated last week, a shaking needed to take place. If you've been following the teachings for a while now, you can have a better understanding of this. But if an eye for an eye is the first TOA teaching you've experienced, and you're coming from the other side, then yikes, right? These teachings are built layer upon layer. They go back. I do my best to catch up people on some basics, especially if the subject matter is repetitive, establishing context and so on, or, if you're just a first-time listener. Now, as we progress, you'll see that the borders and the boundaries are being set in place. Now, this really is for the sake of those who are present and desire a deeper look into the Torah. Truth be told, I'd rather not have to explain myself, or rather excuse myself every time I make a point that is not popular to the Christian establishment in general and the Messianic movement in particular. So again, I say, I have nothing against Christians or Messianic people. We all just want to find God. We are all seeking the truth. And I encourage that very much so. What I do have a problem with are false doctrines that are being passed along as the truth, deceiving many. This is so obvious. Even a blind person could see them, and I get very frustrated when people are blind by choice. And this is why I say that my problem is with the establishment or the movement and the damage is causing that it's causing the world today. I stand against this. Now, I will converse with anyone for the sake of peace and clarity, but not for the sake of proving who's right or who's wrong. As I have stated before, I reserve the right to be wrong, as I am a human being myself. And that's why I understand where the other side is, because I dipped my toe in there myself. So if it seems like I'm angry at an entire people, I am not. But sometimes I do get to the point of wanting to bang my head against the wall at the lack of willingness of individuals to even look. This means that you don't want to learn, in which case you need to ask yourself, why are you even here? It breaks my heart because these are pure and innocent neshamot, souls that are just going astray or being led astray, rather. The more I learn of the value of a soul, nothing in this world comes close. You must understand, I'm not doing this for popularity. Otherwise, I'd be pandering to very specific audiences. I ain't no fool. I know exactly what sells and what does not. You got plenty of those channels out there if you're looking for some sort of emotional response. This is not it. There's plenty of things that I'm also not at liberty to share with you, but I can share whatever I share whatever I can share, basically. I can only say what I've been allowed to say, what I'm instructed to say, and God forgive me if I say anything incorrectly, okay? I'm held accountable and I'm very much aware of this. But like all of us who seek God, I am in the process of change myself. I'm not the same person I was 5 years ago, 2 years ago, 6 months ago, or even last week. I only believe in one kind of evolution, and that is the evolution of the mundane into the holy. This is called tikkun olam, the rectification of the world. Every person is responsible to fulfill their part. Otherwise, we all have to pick up the other person's slack, thereby delaying the redemption which we are all longing for. This ain't socialism. This entire system is built for us, and it was established for the sake of our union with the Creator. Don't you want that? I used to live a life that, I'm not so proud of. I'm not proud of at all, actually. Where I'm talking about past lives, right? However, everything I did led me to where I am today. And as I still struggle, not necessarily with the things I wrestled with before, don't get me wrong, because as we grow, so do our challenges. As we evolve, so do our challenges. But so does the strength to overcome said challenges. We have to always remember this. Never be afraid to fall, but be terrified of not getting up. Do you hear me? Never be afraid to fall, but be terrified of not getting up. Because you have no idea what is but a heartbeat away. Which is why the Lord spoke to Moses saying, "Speak to the children of Israel and have them take for me an offering from every person whose heart inspires him to generosity. You shall take my offering." וידבר אדוני אל משה לאמור, דבר אל בני ישראל, ויקחו לי תרומה, מאת כל איש אשר ידבנו ליבו, תיקחו את תרומתי. Last year I discussed the very peculiar language, and I broke it down for a better understanding of the message given here by God. This year we're going to go a little bit deeper, inside the inner chambers of said heart, and reveal some mysteries. You've earned it. So as I mentioned, I'll just catch everyone up to speed, like I do, on the language so that we can use that as a stepping stone to get us to where we need to go and adjust our eyes to what we need to see. דבר אל בני ישראל ויקחו לי תרומה. Speak to the children of Israel and have them take from me an offering. Why does it not say, דבר אל בני ישראל ויתנו לי תרומה? Speak to the children of Israel and have them give me an offering. Since when does one take an offering when one gives it? Even the recipient does not take it, but rather receives it. The word teruma means to donate, litrom. It also comes from matana, as in gift. A donation by default is something that one gives willingly, right? Who wants to donate? It's not for work being done. It's no one's, twisting your arm. It's something you give freely. So just to make a point of this, the Torah goes on to the fulfillment of the command itself, which can be found in Exodus 35, 4 and 5. This is in the future, because Moses is receiving this now, and then he's going to impart it to the children of Israel. And Moses spoke to the entire community of the children of Israel, saying, this is the word that the Lord has commanded to say. Okay, now what does he say? Kachu, take, me'itchem, from you, teruma la'adonai. Kol nediv libo, his heart, yevia, et terumat Adonai, zahav v'kesef v'nechoshet. Take from yourselves an offering for the Lord. Every generous-hearted person shall bring it, namely the Lord's offering, gold, silver, and copper. So first we read God's command to Moses on Mount Sinai, which is where he's at right now. And then we read about the command passed along to the children of Israel with the same language, no less. And so now we can confidently ask yet again, since when is an offering taken, not given? And this is the important lesson that God is teaching his children, Israel. To give is to receive. Now, if you'll notice as we read the Torah, for those who have a heart along with the basic understanding of Hebrew, we will see that God is leaving his people hidden messages in plain sight. A great example of this can be seen in Genesis 18, 4 and 5. Please let a little water be taken, and bathe your feet, and recline under the tree, and I will take a morsel of bread and sustain your hearts. Afterwards you shall pass on, because you have passed by your servant. And they said, so shall you do, as you have spoken. This is when Abraham ran to greet the angels. Listen in the Hebrew. Yukach, right? Yukach, lakachat, kochu. Yukach na mayim, me'at mayim urchatzu raglechem, ve'ishanu tachat ha'etz, ve'ekecha, pat lechem, ve'sa'adu libchem. I will take water, I will take bread, but you will benefit from this. I will take some water and wash your feet, Abraham said. I will take a morsel of bread and sustain your hearts. Is he not giving it to them? Why does it not say I should give? Should it not have said, I will give some water, I will give some bread? So now if it's too big for us to understand God's language, then we should look at the man who started it all, right? It's very simple. Abraham searched the entire world and all of creation for God. And Abraham was found by God because he was seeking him with all his heart. You could read that in Jeremiah. Abraham saw God's love letter embedded in all things. And as we know, he would have done anything to honor God, including give up his firstborn son. Abraham understood that whatever he had actually all belonged to God. And so he never boasted because of his wealth. When do you hear Abraham doing this? Yet he was the wealthiest dude in the world. But rather, he served God and man his entire life. And it is because of this that God blessed him with everything from everything. Bakol mikol kol. These are high, high blessings. But sometimes that is more valuable than silver and gold and all the riches in the world. What is this? What's more valuable than everything in the world is when God himself declares to the world that you love him. Because then we know that there is no doubt that this is true. I could say, I love God with all my heart and with all my soul. I know for a fact that that is not true. I wish it were true, but I'm currently in this physical state, unable to do so. I'm trying my hardest, but if I say it, you shouldn't believe me. But if God says it, don't take my word for it, take his word for it. God said this about Abraham. Where did he say it? Isaiah 41:8. But you, Israel, my servant, Jacob, whom I have chosen, the seed of Abraham who loved me. Because Abraham loved God, he was able to read God's love letter and not only speak in his manner, but also live his life accordingly, which is why he was blessed. Abraham knew that the greatest gift one can truly receive is the gift of giving. This is not to be confused with what the taking means. The example of Moses' parents shows the actual action of taking. Exodus 2, a man of the house of Levi went and married a daughter of Levi. It says married in the English, the Hebrew says vaylech, walked. Ish, man, mi beit, the house Levi, of Levi. Vaikach, and he took it, well, we can't translate it, Bat Levi, the daughter of Levi, which was Yocheved. She was the actual daughter of Levi, the son of Jacob. She was the granddaughter of Jacob. Who's Moses' father? It's Amram. Amram went to Yocheved's house. He took her into his house. He took in this. So we see that in this context, take means take, which only accentuates the point even more of how and why taking actually giving when it comes to God's language of love. Taking and giving and taking, it's backwards when it comes to these specific matters. So, what do we mean by this? If you're scratching your head, let's clarify. Well, first and foremost, this concept is truth. We know this because it's quite literally the opposite of the world standards today. So let's take an extreme modern day example, okay? Jeff Bezos, right? The founder, CEO, president, and the grand czar of Amazon. His net worth exceeds $150 billion as of July 2018. I was just, simple Google, making him the richest dude in the world by far. Bill Gates is second, around 98 billion only. Now, tell me, when Jeff Bezos dies, will he be able to take a single cent of his money with him? Obviously not. Nor will all his money save him from death. I mean, look at Steve Jobs, for instance. Death comes for us all. And it's what we do in life that actually counts, because it's all about what comes next. You see, when you do something good, especially when you follow the mitzvot that God has given us, while it may seem that you are giving, you are actually taking. When it hurts you to give, you are actually receiving. While it seems that your tithe will cut your paycheck by 10%, and all you can think about is how badly you need every last dollar or shekel to make ends meet, what you fail to see is the gift that you truly receive, which is God completing the remaining 90%. He said, test him on this, did he not? The only thing in the Torah that God said, test him on. If you tithe, he will fill your grain houses, right? Overflowing in abundance. He said, test me, but people don't do it because it's so hard to depart with money that you think actually belongs to you. When you follow God's word, the reward that you receive from that is yours, truly yours, and yours alone, yours forever. Because you just fulfilled something that transcends space and time. So you shall reap the rewards that transcend space and time as well. Makes sense. When we die, we lose whatever we take in life, in this world. But while we live, whatever we give is ours for eternity. And this is what our kind and loving and merciful Heavenly Father is teaching his children Israel in the form of Truma, contribution. And as we discussed in last year's teaching, the hint that we are to take from in order to give back to is God himself, i.e. his Torah. If you hear what I am telling you, my suggestion to give/take, according to your heart's desire, free will, then what you will receive in return will be, you shall truly take my offering, God, unity. You understand? This is how the Torah works. It's not only the words, it's what's behind them. This is why you need to learn Hebrew. I'm sorry I stress this. I'm not sorry I stress this. Hebrew. Okay. And it's not about the commands. It's what they connect to. You think when you say a blessing on the food, it's like, okay, I'm pleasing you, God. No, not at all. This is why we need the sages. You see, they make the connection. The sages make the connection, starting with Moses, going all the way down up until this very day. And again, the information is passed along. Nowadays, we don't really have poskim. Poskim are those who decree new laws. We haven't had those in a while because no great rabbi of our generation feels big enough to be able to decree something new. This is why we're talking about the sages of old. So the rabbis who are able to see what we, as regular individuals who do not commit our lives fully and solely to learning and studying and imparting the word of God, I still have a day job, okay? We can't see what this actually does, but they can see how to manifest it into the physical reality. Take the spiritual and manifest it into the physical. Now we're going to see examples of this in our Parsha. But before we even go into it over there, take this very classic example, okay? And this is also another to point out last week of the oral law and how dare can a rabbi change what God says. Look what Moses did. Go to Numbers 21, 8 and 9, right? This is with the serpent on the thing, right? The Lord said to Moses, make yourself a serpent and put it on a pole and let whoever is bitten look at it and live. Moses made a copper snake. That's the biggest change the English says, but you see serpent and snake, you're thinking the same thing, and put it on a pole, and whenever a snake bit a man, he would gaze upon the copper snake and live. Now, the Hebrew says, seraph, vayomer Adonai el Moshe, aseh, make lecha for you, seraph, vesim oto al hanes, take a seraph and put it on the pole. Vayas Moshe, what did Moshe do? Vayas, made Moshe. Nachash nechoshet, a copper serpent. God said, take a fiery angel, and Moses made a copper serpent instead. You understand? Now, how is Moses going to make a fiery angel, which is a completely spiritual being, and put it up on something physical, not to mention the fact that it would not even be able to be seen by Israel in this realm, in this reality? So what did he do? Because of what we're going to read over here, Moses was able to translate the spiritual into the physical, which is how the Mishkan was built, which we will see in our Parsha. God shows us his blueprint. He showed actually Moses' blueprint. He taught him the physical equivalent of all things. And this is how we fulfill God's commands. An eye for an eye, remember? You don't know what you're seeing, but they do, because it was passed down from Moses. And yet, nowhere does it say that Moses disobeyed God's direct command, which is essentially what happened. But that's why we learn in Truma what Moses saw and how he can do that. In fact, what he did actually saved Israel. In other words, it was blessed by God. Have you ever wondered that? Probably not, because the English doesn't even say seraph. It just says serpent. So serpent, serpent. Yes, he did exactly what God said. But read the Hebrew, you'll be like, what? This is the code that was passed down in the oral law. When you know what to look for, you will find it. But also on the flip side, when you have an agenda based on your own understanding, you'll find that too. You can make almost anything fit your narrative, and this is something that should terrify us all. So now let's get back to what speaks to our heart and leave foolish things to foolish people, shall we? And they shall make me a sanctuary, and I will dwell in their midst. Yes, another very popular quote that many like to throw around freely. I am the Mikdash, and God is inside me. Okay, let's take a look. But we're not about being popular, we're about the truth. So let's take a look into what this house that we are to build for God, what's in it? Well, what's it all about? But wait, is this a command or is this a request? Because again, this is what it was leading up to. All those donations will build this house ultimately. So the answer is, it's actually both. Hence the word take, which is what we've been discussing up until now. So essentially, God is not making Israel build him a house. He is asking who would like to build him a house of their own free will, right? And all those who are willing to do so are his children. According to all that I show you, the pattern of the Mishkan and the pattern of all the vessels, and so shall you do. So what is showing you, right? The Hebrew says, Kechol asher ani mar'e otcha. Mar'e otcha, show you. But this is literally written as show you, meaning yourself. I am showing you. So if this is Moses, I will show you, as in showing himself. Otherwise, it would be written mar'e lecha, as in showing to you. So again, all this language is a lot of duality in here. Now, we know that the Torah does not have punctuation, so the word mar'eh can also be read as mar'ah, which means mirror. Last year's teaching, we discussed that one of the meanings is that God is showing Moses himself, but this year we're going to try and understand just a little bit more. Here's something I got to recap for you. Do you recall Parashat Va'era, a few weeks ago, titled Revelation? We discussed the mirror darkly. Look into that. The four colors of red, green, white, and black. While the mirror was the light that does not illuminate, this was the black, as in the pupil of the eye, the black of the eye. Okay, so the eye is made up of white, red, and green, and then there's the black. So these are the four colors. And the black, the light that does not illuminate, it illuminates, but you can't see it. This is Malchut, as in this world. Malchut is kingdom, as in the kingdom of heaven, right here. How do you see it? Where do you see it? Can you see it? And it is the lowest point on the tree, where all God's goodness flows directly down to, through the attributes of mercy, judgment, splendor, eternity, glory, and foundation, going all the way down to Malchut, kingdom. Now, if you're here for the first time, I get how you're going to have no idea what I'm talking about right now. But go and watch that teaching, okay? It was called Revelation. Nothing to do with the book of. These 6 Sephirot represent Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, Moses, Aaron, and Joseph. While Malchut is Judah, as in the kingdom of. This is the mirror darkly, Malchut, that reflects back to God all the goodness and amends the spiritual into the physical. It comes down, it is a mirror, and it goes right back up. We go right back up. So that while we perform the physical, it becomes spiritual and it goes back up to those channels, through those channels, thereby elevating ourselves with this world in the process. We go up and we carry this world with us. Now, I apologize. That really is the best recap I can do of all this, okay? Because it was like an hour-long teaching. So yeah, again, go watch it. Now, let's read verse 9. Again, with a better understanding into the deeper text. According to all that I show you, the pattern of the Mishkan and the pattern of its vessels, so shall you do. God is showing Moses 100% a spiritual makeup of the heavenly Mishkan, the heavenly tabernacle. Now, this is what the Midrash says. One of the outstanding features of the tabernacle was the fact that it was divided into 3 parts. 1, the area beyond the divided curtain, the western part. 2, the area in front of the dividing curtain, known as Ohel Moed. 3, the courtyard in front of the tabernacle, which was enclosed by curtains. These 3 sections symbolize the 3 parts of the cosmos. 1, the world of the disembodied beings, the angels, beings with no physical bodies. 2, the world of the inert bodies, the stars and the planets. And 3, our terrestrial universe, inhabited by living creatures with bodies and souls, some of them. Upon examination, we shall find that man, the most important creature in our lower world, is also composed of 3 parts, representing the division of the whole cosmos into 3 parts. Remember how we discussed last year? Well, remember, watch the video. Man is a microcosm of creation, is a microcosm of God, and so is the Mishkan, that we're all connected. And this is our connection. This is why man is called a microcosm, okay? A world in miniature by the sages, if you will. Now, the 3 parts are: 1, the world of dibul, speech, creatures capable of verbal communication. 2, chayot, the world of animals, all kinds of living and moving creatures. And 3, the world of vegetation, life and motion limited to the roots and the plants in the soil, okay? Everything else. The innermost part of the tabernacle contains the holy ark, Aron HaBrit, the tablets, the cherubs, all of which were interior vessels that remained hidden, listen to me, from view as they house the entourage of the Shekhinah. Not everybody gets to see this stuff. This is what was meant in Ezekiel 10:9, where it says, Ukvod elu Hey Israel milamala, and the attribute kavod of God of Israel was above. So this is basically the general makeup and its general representations. We don't have enough time to get into like everything, obviously. But now you're going to hear something very familiar. God had shown Moses in the makeup of the Mishkan, green fire, black fire, white fire, and red fire. He now told him, in accordance with all that I have shown you, we see this at the end of the chapter in verse 40, he instructed him, construct it like this. Go ahead, Moses, take these 4 spiritual fires and build me the Mishkan. The matter can be illustrated by means of a parable. A king had a very costly pearl-studded garment. He instructed one of his servants to make him another one just like it. Go ahead, make it so. The servant replied, my lord king, where am I going to get the raw materials to make another garment such as this? And this is precisely what Moses asked God. Where am I going to take a green fire, a black fire, a white fire, and a red fire from in order to construct a replica of the cosmos? God, give me a break here. I cannot do this. And this is where God said to him, now listen, because this is what I'm telling you. You do the best you can do with the materials at your disposal. That is right. Not only that, but If you will construct something comparable to what you have seen in my celestial spheres down on earth, I shall leave my celestial court and confine myself, my Shekhinah, to the extent necessary in order to take up residence in the tabernacle you will construct on earth. Just as in the celestial regions there are upright standing seraphim angels, so on earth there will be upright standing columns of acacia wood. Okay, you could look at 26:15. Just as there are stars in the heavens, there are stars down on earth. Rabbi Chia added this teaching that the golden clasps appeared like stars on the carpets forming the ceiling of the tabernacle. We are constructing the cosmos in there, but don't forget, it also says inside us, right? Okay, keep that in mind. Now, my friends, let's take a closer look at what's inside the innermost chamber. You ready? The Ark of the Covenant. Any Indiana Jones fans here? Okay. Just the makeup of this alone will give us a better understanding of where we, as individuals, as his children, stand in regards to God and what God is telling us when he asked us if we would build him a house. Would you do this? Now, this is very, very humbling. They shall construct an ark made of acacia wood. That's how it says it. When the Torah introduces the instructions to construct any of the other furnishings of the tabernacle, it always uses direct language. Va'asita shulchan, and you shall construct a table. Why does the Torah switch to ensuing the instructions to make the ark by using the third person? They shall construct. Shemot Rabbah says this. Discuss this anomaly, okay? This is what they discuss. Rabbi Yehuda, son of Shalom, said that God said, let them all come and be occupied, all come and be occupied with the construction of the ark, in order that all of them will acquire the merit of providing a housing for the Torah. They were all to contribute for the making of the ark. This is beautiful. It's very, like, how grateful are we that God gave us the opportunity to give? Do you understand how much God wants us to be part of this? Take me an offering. Don't forget. The entire tabernacle was constructed for the sake of the ark and its contents, or its contents is Luchot HaBrit, right? Not these. This is Hollywood. They do not look like this at all. There were actually two huge blocks of what looked like sapphire stone, but it wasn't sapphire. It was something not of this world. Two huge, separate, like equally big blocks. Okay, not this, but it's cute. Anyway. They shall construct an ark out of acacia wood. Refer to the people who preoccupy themselves with Torah. That's what that means. Vetzipita oto zahav tahor. You shall overlay it with pure gold. This is an allusion to the tradition that in the future that God would make a special shade, or rather shelter, for the people studying Torah and generally supporting Torah, concerning what Solomon said in Kohelet 7:12, for to be in the shade, in the shelter of wisdom, is also to be in the shelter of silver. Now, this falls under the category of those who support the study of Torah, financially or otherwise. There are people that donate to yeshivas. There are people that sponsor yeshiva students. I'm giving money for someone else to learn Torah. That is fantastic. This is one of the reasons over here. But Solomon also wrote in Proverbs 3:18, and again, a lot of people do this. You have a lot of, there are a lot of, individuals around the world who they don't have time to sit and learn Torah 24/7. Okay, not everybody should sit and learn Torah 24/7. They also got to work. Nevertheless, they support someone to do it. They enable them to do it, so they also merit in that person's learning Torah. But Solomon also wrote in Proverbs 3:18, she, meaning the Torah, is a tree of life. Etz chaim hi lamachazikim ba, v'tomchei meushar. She is a tree of life for all those who support it. He did not write for those who study it, but for those who support it. Now, we think that this is the end-all be-all, but wait. If merely supporting Torah and its institutions is considered holding on to the tree of life, how much more so must be it for a person who actually studies Torah? Hi. That's us. Now hold on, we're going deeper. Betzalel, we all know Betzalel, he's the one that actually built this. Betzalel, whose name literally means in the shadow of God. Betzel, tzel is shadow, be is in, Betzel, El, God, in the shadow of God, that was his name. He made the ark out of 3 separate boxes to reflect this concept of threes that we've been discussing. That's why you see Aron HaBrit, Aron HaEdut, and all these things. He based himself on the instructions to overlay the ark with gold, both from the inside and from the outside. And this we can see in verse 11. Although there was in fact 3 separate boxes, they looked as if there were only one single box. There were 3 boxes, same size, but they became one. Listen. This is also why you find in this paragraph all the letters of the alphabet. In this paragraph right here of making this, all the letters of the alphabet, of the Hebrew alphabet, of course, except for the letter Gimel, the 3rd letter. 3. That's what Gimel is, which the Torah wanted to conceal. This is hidden. Again, if you don't know what you're looking for, you ain't going to see this. The Torah wanted to conceal in order to conceal the fact that the throne of God consisted of 3 foundations. You see, these are the hidden things that only those who receive this information that was passed along from Moses will be able to see. Betzalel, on the other hand, he got a direct download from God, as we know, hinted at the missing letter Gimel by constructing 3 arks which looked like one. It's like one of those, it would seem possibly like one of those Russian babushka dolls, right? You take it off and there's another one and there's another one, but they were all as one. This is also the reason that in Parashat Noach, the Torah wrote the word keshet, rainbow, 3 times in the paragraph where God explains the rainbow as the symbol of his covenant with mankind not to bring about another flood, ever. Now, this can be seen in Genesis 9, 13 through 16. My rainbow I have placed in the cloud, and it shall be a sign of the covenant between myself and the earth. And it shall come to pass when I cause clouds to come upon the earth that the rainbow will appear in the cloud, and I will remember my covenant and so on, and the rainbow shall be in the cloud. Okay, so that's 3 times. Verses, again, chapter 9, verses 13 to 16 in Genesis. So we understand now that the Mishkan, the tabernacle, consists of 3 layers, and the ark itself is no different in that manner because there was not one ark, there were 3 arks in one. One inside the next, and we're going to get into that soon enough. The ark is likened to the throne of God, and just as we read in Ezekiel, where the galgalim, the chayot, right, what he saw, the merkavot, they were directly beneath it, like directly above it was the throne of God, seemingly holding it up, but it's actually quite the opposite. The throne was what was holding them up, okay? So you see, the people were not carrying the ark. The ark was carrying the people. That's why the ark always went first. It held them up. This thing was way too heavy for any four dudes to carry, okay? The ark is a complete anomaly, as it has been recorded to not occupy space in the tabernacle or the temple. What? It's like it's there, but it's not? That's crazy. This is just another one of the miracles in connection with the ark. In other words, it did not occupy the 3-dimensional space which forms the basis of us measuring things. It's there, but it's not there. It's physical. I could see it. I can't touch it. No one really can. But it's there, but it's not. Just like the throne of God, whose location or measurements we don't know. We don't know where it is, what it is, how exactly it looks like. I mean, we know it's sort of like sapphire-ish, but that's all we know. And the rainbow is above it. This is why the angels are reported as formulating their blessings by saying, Baruch Adonai mimkomo. Blessed be the Lord from his space, as in wherever he may be, because he's not here, he's not there, he's everywhere. Okay. They shall make an ark, verse 10, They shall make an ark of acacia wood, 2.5 cubits in its length, 1.5 cubits its width, and 1.5 cubits in its height. and you shall overlay it with pure gold from the inside, and from the outside you shall overlay it. It says it twice, and you shall make upon it a golden crown all around. Have you ever seen pictures of it? You know what I'm talking about. Now, what does this mean, overlay it with pure gold from the inside and from the outside? You're going to love this one. And I'm quoting directly from the sages here. This verse is used by our sages from Masechet Yoma 72 to demand that the Torah scholars, this is what our sages write. They demand that the Torah scholars must be able to demonstrate that they practice and preach, what they practice and preach. They base this on the ark, which was gold on the inside and gold on the outside. Although no one actually saw the inside, it had to correspond with its exterior. Do you understand this? Another verse which alludes to this, to this subject, is Job 29:14. I clothed myself in righteousness, and it robed me. Justice was my cloak and turban. The repetition in this verse means that one's inside must match the image of one creates of himself on the outside. Our sages add further on this subject. Why were the words of Torah compared to glass? This is in Job 28:17. Gold or glass cannot match its value. The answer is, just as glass is transparent and allows you to see not only the outside, but also the interior, so bearers of Torah must be able to be equally transparent, not hiding character weakness, not visible to their students or to their peers. Do you see the standards by which the sages have been commanded to live by? They commanded themselves to live accordingly. So again, I know you can complain about all the leadership, but the leadership is not necessarily the sages. The leadership is politics. It's something that's a whole nother level of corruption. But the sages who pass along the oral law, this is the standard they hold themselves by. Okay. In fact, this is even their interpretation. You understand? Does anyone have a problem with this? No, because we all wish that we could do this. Practice what you preach to the best of your ability. Amen. So, are we getting an idea of just how deep this whole thing goes? And wait, just one more time, just to blow your minds a little bit more. They shall make an ark of acacia wood, 2.5 cubits its length, and 1.5 cubits its width, and 1.5 cubits its height. And you shall overlay with pure gold from inside and from outside you shall overlay it, and you shall make upon it a golden crown all around. We know that the ark is made of wood. That's what it said. And that is that it's coated from gold on the inside and on the outside. We also discussed that Bezalel actually built 3 arks, gold on the outside, acacia wood in the middle, and gold on the inside. So that's 3, gold, wood, and gold. Now this may seem that 3 different sizes, like we said, but it's actually all in one. Now check this out, son. On the outside, we have gold. Representing what? Representing Torah. The written law, the Torah, tangible. This is what everybody can see, right? Pick up your Bible, there we go, I got the Torah, fantastic. In the inside, we also have gold, representing the oral and hidden Torah. This is what only those who truly seek out will be able to see. Everybody could see what's on the outside, but nobody really knows what's on the inside, or do they? And so, why is there wood in the middle? Let me quote scripture so you understand that I'm not making this stuff up, and hopefully you'll be like, oh, I know me. Deuteronomy 20:19, Ki ha'adam etz hasadeh. Is the tree of the field a man? Maybe. Psalms 1:1-5. Listen to this. The praises of a man are that he did not follow the counsel of wicked, in the context. Neither did he stand in the way of sinners, nor sit in the company of scorners. But his desire is the law of the Lord. Ki im betorat Adonai chefzo, ubetorato yehege yomam v'layla. And in his law he meditates day and night. He shall be, who? This man. He shall be as a tree planted beside rivulets of water, which bring forth its fruit. You shall know a tree by its fruit in its season, and its leaves do not wilt, and whatever he does prospers. Not so, all not done, not so the wicked, but they are like the chaff that the wind drives away. Therefore the wicked shall not stand up in judgment, nor shall the sinners in the congregation of the righteous. Oh wait, there's more. Psalms 52. Verses 9 and 10. Behold the man who does not place his strength in God and trusts his great wealth. He strengthened himself in his wickedness. But I, David says, I am like a fresh olive tree in the house of God. I have trusted in the kindness of God forever and forever. Now, one thing you need to understand, and there are just so many other examples. One thing you need to understand, in Hebrew, the word tree and the word wood, okay, they're the same. And that word is etz. Etz chaim hi. It is a tree of life. And in this case, this specific acacia wood that this was made out of, that the ark was made out of, which was found right there where God commanded them to build the Mishkan, was planted by our father Jacob, Yaakov Avinu, hundreds of years earlier, specifically for this time. Because what is the ark if not God's Shekhinah, his glory, his splendor, his tiferet on earth? So not only did Jacob merit to become the attribute of tiferet in the spiritual sense, but also in the physical sense as well. He's literally, physically responsible for the actual construction of the ark. We are the tree, if you didn't get that by now. The wood that resides between the layers of gold in the ark. That's where God sees us. So now again, where do you see yourself? On the outside, we have the gold representing the written Torah that everyone around the world can see. In the inside, we have the gold representing the oral and the hidden Torah, that which many people say, no, that does not exist because I cannot see it. This is only for those who truly seek and for who truly are able to see. And right there in between the two, for those who produce good fruit, those who are called the congregation of Jacob, and those who fully embrace both written and oral law as one, become one with it. We are fused together with the gold encompassing us on all sides, and yet still, we are the ark, but not its contents. How can you expect to merit the luchot habrit, the tablets of the covenant, which are two, and they represent man's heart and mind? That's what they represent. That's why you got two of them over there. The most important parts of us that enable the connection to the Almighty. If you do not place yourself firmly, securely, and of course, humbly between God's law. If you are not part of that same tree that our father Jacob had planted, meaning from the house of Jacob, then in what world do you live in that you think that you could merit what is even inside the ark? Take me an offering. A man's worth is not measured by how much money he has in the bank, how many businesses or empires he owns, how many cars he drives, and certainly not by how many followers on YouTube he has. A man is measured by how much he gives, because that is his and his alone. No one can take that from him, and every last thing counts. When you give 10%, when you tithe, God gives the other 90%, that which completes you. As Moses ascended, God descended. Completes, that means shalem, complete, perfect, perfection, as in shalom, peace. God is complete and perfect peace. To further emphasize this point, the point that will separate those that are of the congregation of Jacob and to the rest of the world. Listen to the words again. Speak to the children of Israel and have them take from me an offering. From every person whose heart inspires him to generosity, you shall take my offering. But in Hebrew, Daber el bnei Israel, vayikhu li teruma, me'et kol ish asher yidavenu libo, tikhu et terumati. Listen to what Solomon said on this manner. And the language is the same. Now, I've said this before, but I'll say this again if you're just joining us. Solomon almost reached the levels of Moses' prophecy with the wisdom that God gave him. That's how high he was. It was Moses' prophecy and Solomon's wisdom, okay? He was second only to Moses in understanding how things work, but they came from different places, okay? Prophecy and wisdom, both given by God, okay? In different courses. They all led to the same place. And he said this, King Solomon, Proverbs 4, verse 2, "For I gave you good teaching, forsake not my instruction." It loses everything. So let's read it in Hebrew and listen to the language if you haven't picked it up by now. Ki lekach tov natati lachem torati al ta'azovu. Lekach, ki lekach tov. Lekach means teaching, but rather lesson. When you try and correct your child, you say, have you learned your lesson, right? In Hebrew, you would say, lamadeta et lekach, ki lekach tov. But the word lekach, lesson, is identical to the word lakach, take. Chuli truma. What? As in, take from me an offering. Natati means I have given. Natan is to give. And what is given if not a gift, an offering, meaning freely? And what is this lesson, this teaching that we are to take and yet to receive? Torati, my Torah. What about my Torah? Al ta'azovu, do not leave it, do not forsake it. Now that you understand this verse, we're going to read it in context. So Proverbs 4, verses 1 through 4. Children, hearken to the discipline of the Father, and listen to know understanding. For I gave you good teaching, forsake not my instruction. For I was a son to my father, a tender one, and an only one before my mother. And he instructed me and said to me, may your heart draw near to my words, keep my commandments, and live. Verse 5. Acquire wisdom, acquire understanding. Do not forget, and do not turn away from the words of my mouth. Do we see what Solomon is saying? Because it was wisdom, he spoke quite practically. We can all relate to this. He explains what take from me an offering is all about. Do you see how much God loves his children? This is a plea and also a warning. And yet free will is completely emphasized here. For those who have a heart to hear and understand all the words that I say, those are the ones who will build for me a house. Because I just gave them the exact instructions of how to build it. If you deviate from these instructions and you think God dwells inside of you, who are you fooling, kids? Now, last week, the maftir of the parasha, of Parashat Mishpatim, was Parashat Shkalim. We have 4 little parshiot leading up until Pesach. Regarding the half a shekel, machatzita shekel, that every man and woman were required to give. This holds much significance because it was small enough, the half a shekel, small enough amount that even the poorest of all of Israel would be able to give, and on an equal setting with the wealthiest. In other words, I don't care how much money you have, you give half a shekel and you give half a shekel. Everyone gives half a shekel. Okay, so all are one before God. As we said, God is not impressed by how much money he put in your bank account. Yeah, I know your bank. You're welcome. Okay, so why is it half a shekel? Because your brother will make up the other half. Exodus 30:13. Listen. This they shall give everyone who goes through the counting, half a shekel according to the holy shekel. 20 geras equal to 1 shekel. Half of such a shekel shall be an offering to the Lord. Now I'm going to read the Hebrew. יתנו כל העובר על הפקודים מחצית השקל בשקל הקודש, 20 גרה השקל, מחצית השקל, תרומה לאדוני. As in the Parsha. God gives this command to Moses, right? It says, okay, now I gotta get all these kids to open their pockets. Moses asks God, he says, tell me, how am I supposed to convince my Jewish brethren to separate from their money? Now, I realize that this is a stereotypical statement, but it's actually biblically true. We were not called stiff-necked for nothing. What does God show Moses? Because he showed him things, and then Moses had to translate that into reality. What did God show Moses that got him to get the message across? He showed Moses a coin made of fire. And why did he show him this? What's fire? Fire is the only substance in the world that does not lessen if you take from it, but rather it multiplies. How many candles can a single candle light? Does the fire ever run out? But the more you give of it, the more light you produce. Can you dig it? And the timing here, I mean, this is no coincidence. This week, we're celebrating Rosh Chodesh Adar. This is a time for the hidden to be made manifest. This is a time to see God's hand in all things. And he saves you in the last minute. This was a time that we were on the brink of destruction. And God flipped that judgment on its head. Why? Because all the Jews came together and they trusted and believed in God. They did shuvah and God saved them. And it all has to do with take from me an offering. Purim is coming up soon. And on Purim, we are called to give matanot la'evyonim, gifts to the poor. Matana, gift, presents to the poor. Now, why is it called gifts to the poor? Should it not be called donations or contributions to the poor? I hope at this point we all know how to answer the question, right? Given this past teaching, but I'm going to answer for it anyway. We give gifts to the poor because we are grateful to them for the opportunity that through them God blesses us. Speak to the children of Israel and have them take from me an offering. From every person whose heart inspires him to generosity, you shall take my offering. Every day, the Almighty God, the Master of the universe, comes to us. To us. Well, who are we? To us, his children. And he counts himself among the poor. So we would always have the merit of taking for ourselves from every person whose heart inspires him. My friends, during this time, this joyous time of year, this is the time to humbly come before our Father and ask. And how do we ask? Well, to quote W.P. Kinsella, the writer of the novel Field of Dreams. Remember that movie, Kevin Costner? He said, if you build it, he will come. Anyway, thank you so much for joining me. I hope you enjoyed this. Have a wonderful rest of the week. Have a very happy Adar and have a Shabbat Shalom. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.